Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is gonna be episode 1 of my psychology series. For context, I am an AB psychology student first year and I will be discussing the introduction to psychology for Gen Psych, right? So let's create a new world. Let's create a new world. I'm gonna name this my psychology world. Psychology world. There, create new world. Before we get started, we need to discuss first what is psychology. Psychology is like study of scientific. That's keyword. There's three keywords. It's the scientific study of mental processes and behaviors. Psychology started in with history. We have to go through the history of psychology first. It's a really nice seed we have here. In the history of psychology, it only really started during like the Greece period where you have philosophers. Philosophers were like, "Ooh, I am Plato. I am Aristotle. How do people work?" Um, and they were like, "Oh, this is our philosophy," and stuff like that. But then doctors came around and they were like, "How do we connect the mind to the body?" And then, and that was kind of the beginning of psychology. It first started with 1879 with Wilhelm Wilhelm Went. It's pronounced with a V. And he was really the first psychologist. The thing that he prioritized was objective introspection. Objective introspection is like when you see something, when you see someone do something, you write down exactly what it is. It's that he tries to be objective and unbiased, and because of his objectiveness and unbiased, he tries to be as scientific as possible, right? And as he makes it as scientific as possible, the thing that he wants to see is the speed of human thought. And in that speed of human thought, we get to see more objectiveness where he doesn't like look at what other people do as like what they say, but it's what they do specifically and then he writes it down. And he had a student. His student's name is Edward Titchener. And Edward Titchener, he was a student of his who was the father of it was structuralism. And structuralism, you won't hear much about that anymore because it was only a thing until the 1900s. It's when you break down your senses and you break it down into smaller things like what's that called? If you break it down into like for example, the taste. If you taste an apple, what do you taste? You taste a hint of sweetness, a hint of I crafted another stone axe. I can't talk while play Minecraft. You taste a bit of sweetness. You taste a bit of what's that called? You taste a bit of sweetness. You taste a bit of sourness. You taste a bit of this. You taste a bit of that. He like tries to break the stuff down. And William James came along, and William James was like, "That's not true." So he said that psychology is only really how we adapt to the world. Like he based it a lot about on Darwin and what Darwin said about our evolution, right? Because he said that the way that we act is based on our roots as people, and our roots. Our roots as people came from like when we were still cavemen and our instincts as human beings, and that's what we do. After him, we have Wert, Wertheimer, and Wertheimer was the guy that made Gestalt theory. And Gestalt theory is like trying to process things as a whole. Like it's literally the complete opposite of what Titchener said, to where we should look at things individually. But he's trying to say that we should. Oh, I like this game. We should look at things as a whole and look at how these things as a whole affect us. Copper. And he's like thinking of how we fill in the blanks. It's like when you see like optical illusions, like that circle optical illusion with the lines where it looks like tic-tac-toe, kind of like that. And he wants to see how our mind fills in the blanks and what how it affects us and why our mind does that. And that's pretty much the history of psychology. And next we have to see the three influential approaches of psychology, which is Gestalt psychology, Freud, and Pavlov Watson's behaviorism. So Gestalt psychology is like what I discussed before, where we can't really break stuff down. Instead, we have to like see it as what it is. And that's how we analyze stuff. While Freud's psychology is looking for the underlying reason in what we're doing and why we're doing this. He had an example, if I remember correctly, of it was like of ooh, deep dark. It was the one with the woman and how he's so obsessed about like sex and anal. But we're not gonna discuss that here. And then you have Pavlov, where Pavlov and Watson were the dudes that did the dog that salivates. Where every time the dog was fed, they made a buzzer, was it? It was like a buzzer or a light. So every time that buzzer or light would show up, the dog would start salivating and he would get ready to eat. And that's what they believe, that we only really learn things through like positive or negative connotations to what we do. If we do something and it does something positive, then it probably means that we're doing something properly. If it's doing negative, this is scary. I have not played this update, so I don't know if this spawns the ward. Holy crap. Holy crap. Holy crap. What's happening? It's the bat. Holy crap. I'm not going there. Okay. So, that's his behaviorism. See, that is an example of behaviorism. Since that gave me blindness, I don't want to go there anymore because it's scary and it scares me. We have 7 modern perspectives of psychology. Our 7 modern perspectives come from psychodynamics. Psychodynamic is literally what Freud said, where like we do things because of the suppressed needs we have. Like if I want if like what do you call this? The things that we do is because I don't know how to phrase it differently. The things that we do is because we do it because it's something that we really want to do, but we can't really do that thing that we want to do. Like we don't do what we do, but we do stuff like as a form of like because we can't do that. I'm gonna make an iron pickaxe. Like for example, I can't go outside because it's raining. So because of that, I'm like gonna get angry and mad. And it's because it's repressed and I can't do anything because what if something like people get mad at me or my parents and then that's repressed. I'm repressing the things that I actually want to do. And after that's behavioral. Behavioral is the thing that Skinner said, where we learn things through punishment. Like the one I said a while ago with the salivating dog. And humanistic is basically saying that it's like the best approach, like not the best, it's the most, it's like an approach where you say you trust people and the reason why people do things is because they want to be the best version of themselves. And that's his explanation. It's that it's a like a good explanation in like a positive way. And then there's cognitive, where wait, another thing with humanistic is free will. Free will is keyword. And cognitive is pretty much it's based on how the mind works, like memory, intelligence, process, problem solving, language, and learning, and how all of that affect our behavior. Next is biophysical. Biophysical is our like literal stuff, like our biology and how our biology affects us. Like what's an example of biology? Like for example, um if you have mental disorders or hormones or the things that we have in our brain, like something like autism, something like that. And there's social cultural, where it studies the effects of other people on us. So it's how other people and culture and our environment affect us as people. And then we have evolutionary. Evolutionary is the one where it's like the guy I talked about before. William James. William James is evolutionary because he thinks about evolutionary thinks about what we do for our survival. And there's 7 of these and there's so many, and you may think that one of them is probably more superior than the other. Like, you would probably choose the humanistic approach because it's thinking about the goodwill of people. But when you want to analyze something, oh crap, I don't have food. When you want to analyze something, you don't only analyze it from one perspective, but instead you want to analyze it from all of the perspectives because all of the perspectives are important. All of the perspectives can give you a perspective and understand what this psychological thing you want to learn is. Next we're gonna discuss the areas of specialization. After psychology, what do you do? After your psychology course, what do you do? Like, it's like you can be a you can be a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, a counsel psychologist, or an industrial psychologist, or a social psychologist, or the developmental psychologist, counseling psychologist. I said counseling twice, but let's discuss it. Counseling, clinical psychologists, those are the people who focus on mental disorders. So if you have mental disorders like PTSD, you probably have both a psychiatrist and a psychologist because psychologists like to work with psychiatrists because psychiatrists are the ones who administer medicine while psychologists are the ones who talk to you and they're the ones who try to understand where you're coming from and what you're doing. While a counseling psychologist, wait, a clinical psychologist, also, you need a PhD to become a clinical psychologist. A counseling psychologist, all you need is a master's degree. And the only thing that it really manages is your emotions. It doesn't really do the diseases that people have. And then you have industrial psychologists, where industrial psychologists, they look at industries and companies and see how they can be more efficient. It's not like an HR where they look at individual people, but industrial, it's trying to see like what is the goal of this company and what can it do to be a better company. Like, how do I attain my goals as a company? And then next is a social psychologist. A social psychologist are people who have an advocacy. Like, if you want to help the... Holy crap, there's emeralds. That's... I don't know if that's rare. Ooh, it's snow. And it's night. And there's mobs. A social psychologist are people who have advocacies. They help marginalized and they want to bring justice to people. While the developmental psychologists, they focus on one aspect of people's lives. Like, for example, this person may specialize on children who are ages 5 and up, and they want to be able to help how they... Is that the real biome? That's cool. But I have no food. And there's mobs chasing me. I'm gonna die if I don't find sheep. Die. 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 Okay. Die. Holy crap. Holy crap. Holy crap. Holy crap. Holy crap. Okay. Continue. Developmental. They help people in specific aspects of their life. Specific stages. The life of a psychologist kinda sucks. Because there's so much studying involved. You have to practice what you're doing, you have to research, you have to teach other people, you have to practice again, you have to research, you have to teach. You need you need a master's degree, which is 4 to 5 years, and you also need a PhD, which is 3 to 5 extra years, which is horrible. So, in summary, a psychometrician is someone psychometrician, if you that's another one. Psychometrician is someone that when you just graduated psychology, AB or BS, it's like the most basic. You need to like do the like psychology bar exam for that, but you can't really do anything with it. It's like a nothing. It's a nothing burger. Well, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Crap. A psychometrician is very basic, and you need a BS degree or an AB degree. A psychologist, you need a master's degree. A psychologist in counseling, you need a master's degree, while a psychologist in clinical, you need a PhD. A psychiatrist is when you become a doctor and you need a medical degree for that. And then if you want to be a guidance counselor in your school, you need a master's degree as well. There's four goals in psychology. The four goals of psychology is description, prediction, explanation, and control. Description is you describe what is happening, right? What is literally happening. Prediction is what are the patterns and when does it happen. Explanation is why does it happen. And control is how do you manipulate it so you know when it will happen again, or what, or how you can make it so it doesn't happen again. Okay, it's now daytime. Those are the goals of psychology. Next, our next discussion. What is psychology? Psychology. Our next Holy crap! I almost died there. Our next discussion is psychology as a science. Psychology is a science, but it doesn't seem like one because the thing with science is that most of sciences have laws and theories, and laws are stuff that are proven and will always happen, while theories aren't really proven. They're more of explanations of why things happen, but they aren't 100% explanations. Psychology doesn't have any laws because it's rather new. And people say that it cannot be a science because it doesn't have those laws that other sciences have, but it is because psychology follows the scientific method. And the scientific method consists of where you get a problem. A problem is a question. It's like you're reading a document, you're like, why is this like this? And you read more about it and you see, oh, there's no studies about it. There's no explanation. Why is it like that? It doesn't explain it. So you go, that's a question. And then from that question, you form a hypothesis. A hypothesis is an if and then statement. But before you create a hypothesis, it needs to be an educated guess. It needs to come from your observations. And it also needs to be based on the current laws of psychology. And then from that hypothesis, you need to test your hypothesis. Okay, right now in Minecraft, we're looking for a place to build a house. I want to end this episode at least with like a settlement, an abode, place for me to stay for the night. To test hypothesis, and then we draw the conclusion based on the hypothesis. After we test it, we see, did it actually work? Is what I predicted correct? Is like, if if I play Minecraft 24/7, then I will be hungrier every day. Then if that is true, then I have to make a conclusion about it where I say, yes, it's true, and what did we learn about it, and everything that can be grabbed about that learning. And after that, you have to report it. You have to report it, you have to publish it, whether or not your hypothesis was rejected or accepted. Because you want to have more data on the world about psychology, and to do that, you need to show people that this has been proven to be false, and what other questions can there be asked about this topic. And then that's it. That's the reasons why. And then, okay, next. This is the descriptive methods to test the hypothesis. This is a tangent from the testing of hypothesis. Ooh. This Minecraft world is so bad. It's like entirely forest. Now we're in a flower forest, which isn't that bad. But like, where's the friggin'? There's no plains biome. There's no animals. There's no anything. It just sucks. This actually just sucks. Then we have to test the hypothesis. We have a naturalistic observation. A naturalistic observation is like if you go to the wild and you watch like National Geographic and you see their TV shows where they're so far away and they just watch what the animals are doing. That's a naturalistic observation. You test what people or animals are doing out. Naturalistic observations. What's bad about it is that you can have the observer effect. The observer effect is when I am the observer and I want this to happen, then I'm more biased to wanting this to happen. And And there are so many things that are out of your control. So many stuff that, like, what if, what if the thing that you are researching, there's suddenly a storm, then that's gonna change the stuff, and you can't really adapt that to what other people experience. Then that only becomes like specific to that person. You're black sheep. So many. It's food and beds. And then, but the pros of the, we're gonna look for a plains biome through the ocean. The good part about the naturalistic observation is that we're able to see what how people act without bias, because there it's natural, but like it's kind of like unethical in a way, because people don't know that they're being presented. It's like impractical jokers. You can only really ask them if you can do the thing after, when you've already recorded all of the stuff and done all of the research on them. And then afterwards, you're gonna be like, oh, you don't accept, you don't want the data to be shown? Oh crap, then I just wasted all of my time. And the next after that is, what tangent to that is the participant observation, where you pretend to be one of the participant and you watch and you say, oh, I am also part of this activity. But actually, you're one of the people who are observing. And the problem with that as well is that you become biased. You may give them clues on what you want them to say and what you want them to do. And like you can manipulate the actual people that you're trying to understand, right? There is laboratory observations. Laboratory observations is when you, oh my god, staying here? I'm staying here. This is nice. Laboratory observations is when you see something in a controlled environment. The bad part about laboratory observations is that because it's a controlled environment, people can sometimes change how they actually are. Like, they won't really do what they're supposed to do because they know that they're being watched. And because people know that they're being watched, they end up acting differently. And there are case studies. Case studies are only really for specific people, only one person. You can't really get case studies and have it for many people, because the whole point of a case study is that you study one person or one group. One example of that is the guy that got hit in the head with a railroad. His name is Phineas. And after that, after he got hit with a railroad on his head, I'm gonna settle here. After he got hit with a railroad on his head, he started changing the way that he behaved, because it hit like his frontal lobe or something like that. And then that's how they discover that that part of the brain is actually useful for regulating emotions and how people act. And then you have surveys. Surveys are good because they're easy to do, and they're also easy to gather and make and ask questions. It's really just question and answer. But the problem is that people have courtesy bias, and courtesy bias is like people want to make themselves look more sociable, and people want to be like, oh, look at me, my answer is what should be answered and not what's actually being answered. It's like if they ask do you ever what's that called? Oh, 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 stop. Holy crap. Surveys. And it's also hard to sample populations with surveys. Because like we're always gonna be biased. Like if you want to survey a lot of people and you say I'm gonna survey it in a mall, then for a whole city, and you're gonna have your survey in a mall, then that's gonna be biased towards the people who live in that mall, who are near that mall and are there on that specific day, and are there doing whatever they want to do and feeling that exact thing. It's not like the whole mall. It's not the whole population. For it to be an unbiased type beat, you have to see like you have to like send every single person a required email or something like that, where everyone is required to participate. That would be a better survey that is unbiased. We're on my last page of notes. For correlations. Correlations is when we get that study, do we see any, when we get that study, do we see there any relationships between two or more variables? That's called a coef. Oh, how is this guy doing? Get out. Holy crap. Shade. Get out. What's wrong with you? So coefficients, size comes from 0 to 1, and size is pretty much how much is it correlated. If it's 1, then it's really strongly correlated. If it's a 0, then it's barely, there's no correlation, little to no correlation. And the way that works is what's that called? 0 to no correlation. Yeah, there's 0 to no correlation. I'm gonna edit that out. And for the sign, this is the other part. Sign is just if it follows the group. For example, the Minecraft thing a while ago. If I play Minecraft all day, then I will eat more food. So for it to be a positive correlation, it will be people who play Minecraft all day eats more food. That's positive. But if it's gonna be a negative, then people who eat more, who play Minecraft all day, will eat less food because it's coming from something that's additive and it becomes to something that's less. And then next, to test the hypothesis, we go to um experiment. Experiment explains people's behaviors. It has a dependent and independent variable, and the independent variable, the IV is what is manipulated, IV is independent, and DV, which is dependent variable, that is what is being measured. The one being manipulated is like what's an example of a manipulated variable? In my example of the food thing, the manipulated is how many hours of Minecraft do you play, and the dependent is how hungry you get or how much food you eat. However stupid my example is, but that's how it works. And and the and after that you have operationalization. Operationalization is when you name how these things work. So you name the IV and DV and how you measure them. And then we have groups. That's very important. Groups are very important. You have a control group and you have a experimental group. Your experimental group is what you're experimenting. And your control group is people that did not get experimented on. Right? Because you want to be able to be sure that the thing that you actually like made, your experiment doesn't actually have bias towards the people. Like, how am I gonna be sure that this is actually an effect of the experiment and not an effect of nothing? You have to know what happens if you don't give the experiment and what happens when you do give whatever experiment you have. And then there are comes to this are experiments and hazards. 1250, 1101, 1100. So you have experimental hazards, and how do we avoid them? We avoid them by having placebo effects. Placebo effects is like, let's say I have a pill. Because I know that this pill should work, my mind thinks, oh, it should work, it should make me happier because it's like a happy pill. But then it's not, and then your mind says, oh, I will be happier. How are you supposed to know that the pill worked or if the thing actually doesn't work? So what you do there, you get your control group and you get your actual group, and you give the control group the placebo. By giving the control group the placebo, you get to see the more unbiased like method of getting the answer. You get a more unbiased, and then after that, you have the problem of the experimenter effect, where if you're the experimenter and you want a chosen topic, then you're gonna give clues to the people you're experimenting on. And that's pretty much it. And you're more biased to think that this is because, and this happened because you did this, or this happened because you did that. You're more biased to think what your hypothesis. Name tags, bucket. the bucket. Everything else is useless. The bad cave. We're almost done with my discussion. And you have single and double blind. Single and double blind is... Wait, I'm gonna go back. I wanna end my Minecraft in the village. Single and double blind is like... How do I explain single and double blind? Single blind is when you... Where did I come from? Single blind is when the participants don't know whether they are the control group or whether they are not the control group. And the double blind is where... And the single blind, it makes it so it avoids the placebo effect or the thing where they start thinking that they're actually... Yeah, the placebo effect. It avoids the placebo effect. And the double blind avoids the experimenter effect because the double blind is basically both the participant and the people who are researching don't know who is who. So there's less bias into what's happening. And then lastly, we will discuss ethics. I'll speedrun through ethics because this video is gonna be way too long. Ethics is the rights and well-being of people. Ethics is basically how we should treat people. Number one, right and well-being, you must be sure that that their well-being is weighed against the scientific value of the study. Participation is fully informed. We should, if there's deception, we should say that there's deception and they could be decepted. And then after that is participants can withdraw at any time. They are protected from risks by the experimenters, and the data is classified, and the participants are told the nature of the study and what are the expected results if the results may happen. And lastly, if the study gets undesirable or if something bad happens, the researchers should be the ones that remove the consequences. So if something bad happens and you like lose a lot of money, then the researcher should be the one who pays for you. And lastly, this is also in ethics, we use animals for our testing. We use our animals for our testing, so because animals have shorter lives, so it's easier to see the effects of time on them and how like something like Alzheimer's or cancer happens because it happens quickly for them because their lives are shorter than ours, so it's happened sooner. So, and because of that, we want the animals to be as humane as possible. We want to avoid unnecessary pain for them, and we want them to die a humane death. Okay, thank you. That is my reviewer for tomorrow, and that is the base. That is the introduction to psychology, general psychology. Thank you for listening. My name is JB Duralia, or Dead Feet. It's my Minecraft world. Got iron armor, all of this stuff. My stuff's about to break. Thank you for watching. See you in my next test.